mindless artists isn't about appeasing the crowd. Rather, it's about tending to the broken parts inside of ourselves. We create things as a reflection of this struggle, to study our perception of self. Benwave isn't necessarily a thing you achieve. Rather, it is a state of mind which you constantly strive toward. This all comes from an understanding that ideas aren't static, but fluid, like water. Be like water.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Building Blocks, where we program Minecraft mods live on camera, and things usually explode. This week in ways that are slightly greater and lesser than others, which is to say that we can't do multiplayer currently, or we kind of can-ish. There is apparently a decoder slash encoder, we're not sure which, bug somewhere in the code, which is currently up on GitHub if anyone feels like going trolling, and basically it causes a buffer overflow. So it starts to think that some random piece of, like, series of digits in the buffer is a resource location, like a texture file, for instance, and that just causes all manner of problems. Only in multiplayer, though, not actually the least bit inside of the server, and certainly not remotely inside of the actual, like, single player. I don't know where this bug is. Believe me, I've been looking. Near as anyone can tell, my code is perfectly fine, but it causes this, which makes it basically impossible to log onto a multiplayer server. So, yeah, that's great. Really wish it gave me something a bit more concrete than just, hey, there's a bug. What you might like to know. Yeah, there's just a bug, you know? Anyways, I'm on break. I'll be back after lunch, that kind of thing. I've described this, I think, in Modding in Bedmon as being the equivalent of phoning up the fire department and saying, hey, there's a fire. That's it. That's what it's giving me. But for at least the time being, single player works just fine. So we're going to be mostly in single player today. I am keeping my eye on the Forge Developer Discord, so if there's any progress in there as to what this bug is, then hopefully we'll find it out. But I had a day where I could do heck all because of executive dysfunction recently, so now we have these wonderful fellows. These are gastlings, and they are very cute. They're based on an old Lying in Bedmont fandom concept called Sugar Cube, the baby ghast. And they'll hang around. And they'll also sit on your shoulder, take a little nap there. And they are spawned rarely. It's about 1 in 15 when a ghast is killed using a ghast fireball. So if you get the Return to Sender achievement, you do that like 15 times, you'll see like a few ghastlings turn up. But they are tameable. You can use most sugary, most sweet kind of foods. So that's like sugar, cookies, honeycomb, that kind of thing, to tame them. And you can then tell them to sit, and they'll stay wherever they are, and they'll hang out on your shoulder, and they'll follow you, they'll teleport to you like a wolf can, that kind of thing. They don't currently have drops. It's debatable whether it would be a good idea for me to give them drops, but they don't currently have drops, and they won't be getting custom item drops for certain now. But they do also attack. So if you attack something, or they see you getting attacked, they will start launching fireballs as well at the target. They don't have very much health, though, so they're not really meant for combat, but they are adorable, so yeah. Pretty nice, pretty nice. And they'll be out in the next beta version. Oh yeah, you might be wondering why there's a villager here. So I've worked on a bunch of the faction stuff, and last time, when we were working on the Crab Rave, we got to work with Mixin, which basically is code injection, which allows me to add code basically wherever, which was probably too much power to give me. That's probably a very dangerous thing to give me of all people, but here we are. So, in 1.12, we had a faction event related to trading, so that when you traded with a Various Oddities faction member, it affected your actual reputation with their faction. We could only do that with Various Oddities things because we couldn't alter the original code. Now I can. So if I was to buy something from this fisherman, that will fire off an event called Player Trade Event, which the faction bus then checks over to see if I've just bought from a faction mob, and then it will then affect their reputation. So if I add any faction traders, if any mod adds any kind of faction traders, we can actually track that event. Also, having player trade event is actually kind of a useful thing because it means you can detect when players trade for a certain item, that kind of thing. So that fires off an event, it then gets kicked into faction bus, process the whole thing, and now we can actually increase or decrease or whatever your reputation based on trading. Lovely. Unlimited power and so on. Oh yeah. Okay. The other thing I've been mostly working on, when my brain decides that I'm allowed to work, that kind of thing, is these guys. So we've got wargs, which are the really big uns, and we've got wargs, which are the slightly smallers, and they're all bigger than this wolf right here. So, yeah, what a family, what a family. And as you can see, they have very basic AI. They'll wander around. They don't really do much. And I managed to get their model working. Guys, your tails are looking very, very dour. I'm not sure I like that. Their tails are an interesting thing because it's based on the... Sorry, these guys are very nosy. Their tails are based on the code for wolves, and wolves' tails are up or down depending on their health, but it's not like clamped by a percentile, so it's a matter of when they get tamed, they get a health boost, and that makes their tails go even higher than normal. But both of these mobs, the wargs and the wargs, have twice the health of a tamed wolf. So their tails were just like immediately flump. It was kind of ridiculous. Not even like flump in terms of like from down here at resting position to here. More like this was the direction of their body. It was kind of ridiculous. So I've been tweaking it and like trying to fix it and get it working and all stuff. But yeah, it's a little long. But they do get wet and they will dry themselves off if we get rid of the water here. There we go. There you go, guys. And yeah, so that is works and works. That's what we'll be chiefly working on tonight. We're gonna be trying mostly to deal with the wargs, because the wargs are a rideable mount, and they're unlike a lot of rideable mounts in that they will actually, like, move around of their own volition and attack things, because they're built for war, basically. They're built to be rode into battle like cavalry. Whereas the wargs are built to be... how do I put this? Attack dogs? That's about it. And if you're not familiar with how this all gets started... where are you? There you are. Basically, Goblin finds wolf. Goblin tames wolf. Goblin then freakishly abuses and, like, selectively breeds wolf and creates warg. And occasionally, breeding wargs together gets you a warg, depending on generation and such. I still need to fix your texture. Yeah, I should put that in my to-do list. Oh. Oh yeah, right. Well, at least the wargs are serving as mediators here. Fun note is that we do now have a full-blown faction command, and we can tell the goblins and the kobolds that, hey, you're at peace now, by setting their factions accordingly, and they will stop attacking each other at that point. Doesn't clear their attack target, but it does set their, like, factions to no longer just aggro on each other like that. So if you want to have, like, a mixed household, I guess, of kobolds and goblins, you can set that up. It's a thing. It's wonderful. But yeah, today we're going to be working... Where are you? Entity warg. There you are. First things first, I think. We need to actually be able to get on the warg. So let's have a look at... I would say entity boat is the obvious thing. But let's try and look at... pig entity. Yeah. Implements, iWritable, and equipable. Those are two important values. This means you can give it stuff. In the case of a pig, just a saddle. This means you can actually get on it. Doesn't do a whole ton, but it's there, and we can use it.
2 years, BABEEY.
Wow. You and Esper both. Blame me. I would have thought Esper had been around a bit longer than you, Dusty, but apparently not. Anyways. Let me just drag this over here into a big open screen that you guys don't have to stare at, but I can see nonetheless. Okay, so implements. We'll start with just iWritable for the time being. Okay, so we've got boost, travel towards, and get mounted speed. Now, first question. Is this a percentile? Is this, like, a fragment of the actual speed? Is it a multiplier of the actual speed? Or is this an actual just root speed value? In which case, if I put 1.0d here, is that going to, like, return that? Or if I put 0.3, are they going to turn it at 1/3 of their own actual speed? First thing to find out. So let's see, is saddle, drop inventory, travel towards, get mounted speed. For the pig, it is a direct reference to their movement speed multiplied by a value, which therefore means that we are looking for the actual value of the speed, not the standard thing. So, okay. Float, get attribute, value, attributes, movement speed. We haven't even touched the point yet where we haven't even touched the point yet where they're going to be, like, mountable, but this is the part we get towards that. Okay, next one, travel towards. We saw that down here, did we? Yes, there you are. Which is just standard one, telling it how to travel. Just hooks into the move helper, essentially. And then there is boost, which is related to when you're on a pig, you can right-click a carrot on a stick to make them go faster. I don't know if we're gonna have a feature like that for the wargs, because they seem kind of powerful enough as is. So, No 2-year hat. Yeah, we would need more like subs for that, surprisingly. Okay, that's all those values. Next thing, interaction with the player, so that we can start writing them. Fortunately, this one does not have a proper name, so we're just gonna have to type this out very, very laboriously. Say, this one is, instead of say, on initial interact or on player interact, this is func underscore 230 254 underscore b underscore. I hope you remembered that, because I sure as hell would. Okay, so, if not is being written, if there's, we should say that no two people can write this, and not player secondary use, we should say that you're not trying to use something on them. If not get world is remote, we should say from server, then player start writing this. Okay. And then return action results. Func underscore 233 537 underscore a underscore. Otherwise, we just take the super. Only remembers underscore. I am not surprised, Dusty. Okay. That should now mean that we are able to get on the warg. I don't believe that this will help us to actually control it just yet, but we should be able, at least, to get on it. Let's just actually make sure that it knows who's in charge. That should be correct. What's you up? Ah, you just don't know what that is yet. There you go. Right. So now we should be able to get on the warg. Let's see. Get on the warg, Shinji. It's gonna be hella rad on this for my album cover. So how's everyone else's week been? I had to deal with massive executive dysfunction on Friday, to the point where I actually, struggled to eat. And then Monday I got groceries and found out that there is a hate crime on my doorstep. Not my exact doorstep, like 1.5 meters, 2 meters ahead of it, but still, directly in front. Alright, actually have motivation. Oh, nice. Congrats. Okay, let's get ourselves a fresh warg. Puppers won't have the fetch power? Not yet, no. But that is coming. Okay, so right click. Can we control? We cannot control. Oh god, we're a menagerie. But we can start to ride our warg, which is good. Okay. Next step. Go back and have meds again? Oh, congrats. We do have a donation goal up currently for mine. I've got another 1.5 months or so of meds, and then I need to absolutely have more. Menagerie what? Menagerie, Dusty, means a collection of things. Especially creatures. Okay. I guess we need can be steered. That's probably the next thing, come to think of it. I don't see anything specific inside of Entity Pig that would suggest that we need to add anything specific. Okay, we just want to ask if there is anything. So these wargs are apparently controlled. They need to be controllable by goblins, because at some point we are going to be getting them mounted up. yeah, it turns out somebody at least has witnessed me, because I'm not exactly subtle, and has decided to take offense of this, and I have left graffiti in front of my home. Which is lovely. Just the kind of thing you need when you're dealing with a virulent pandemic. Okay, can we control where our warg goes? Come back. Apparently not yet. Okay, there's more to do. You would think that these would be the two things that you need, but I will actually just add a quick caveat here. There. Because occasionally these things are not necessarily the same thing. Just a thing. Okay, looking through the pig code. That's where we start writing it. Is alive and is not child. I'm guessing that's related to breeding. At a guess. Yeah, that seems functional like is adult. Dropping inventory is horse saddled. In pig entity. Oh boy. Okay, let's bring you back into our main view here. Is that like defined anywhere? No, it is. It's just that's probably just cloned code right there. Really excited soon because your birthday is soon and you're having friends over for the first time since like elementary school. I hope you stay safe, but okay, that's the sound for I think putting a saddle on them. Not 100%. Transportation helper, mutable. This looks significant, but it doesn't check who doesn't check who the person controlling it is. So that's probably not what we're looking for. That's for breeding, right there. Didn't pigs get saddles before horses existed? Why is the code name for horses? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Get eye height. Wait, what is that doing, I wonder? That's breeding, easily enough. That's just checking for more breeding parts. Logically, being able to move them around is related to their AI a step, because you have to be holding a carrot on a stick to be doing it. So if we check the item carrot on a stick, there you are, can be steered. Returns true if all the conditions for steering the entity are met. For pigs, it's true if it's being ridden by a player and the player is holding a carrot on a stick. We've already just told it that anything on its back is sufficient. So I wonder why we're not seeing this work like that. Yeah, it can be steered. Yeah, overridden a mob entity. Good. So we do have the right thing there. Get controlling passenger. That's about the only thing that could be returning null here and causing it to not allow us to control it. Let's put it up real quick, just see if I missed a step there or something. The police have been informed of that graffiti, by the by. If I seem a little out of it, it's because I didn't really get any sleep last night. Didn't help that I was woken up at 7 AM by my landlord, asking about it all. Which is weird, because he's well aware of what strange hours I keep. Okay. We are on, but we're not going anywhere. Okay. Also, pay no attention to that whole mess. That is an outstanding bug, and I'm terrible at graphics, so for the time being it remains. At least he doesn't actually move around whilst I'm on him, which is a start. It's a thing we'll be taking away, but it's a start. Hope you get better sleep tonight? I probably will. If nothing else, I have medication. Okay, so what... If we just tell it, yes, it can always be steered. I wonder if that'll fix it up. If all else fails, you have fuzz in the nearest object they can swing. Yeah. We do have the recurring joke of whenever one of us can't fall asleep, just get the frying pan. Oh, I bet the frying pan is washing at the moment. Doctor called you at 8:30 last Monday? Doctors I can understand, because their time is heavily scheduled. And you just sort of get whatever moment they have free. But, like, my landlord, I don't know. My landlord works nights. He could have called me, like, right after work, and it would have been fine. Okay, this... Interesting. Okay, so... We know it's not can be steered. So... What else is causing it? What are we overlooking here? Also, just while we're at it, let's actually look up the history. Because I'm a little curious, like, when pigs, I think, were one of the first mobs in Minecraft. Let's see. History. Added pigs in Java Edition Classic 024 Survival Test. Whereas, let's see, when were they made rideable? Saddle, texture saddle. Okay, saddles have been added along with the ability to ride pigs, was in InfDev. Yep, so this... Wow, even before biomes, remember that? When the color was like that? Oh, memories. Which... Okay, so... Pigs were rideable in the same version in which golden apples, mob spawners, and dungeons were implemented. Horses... were added way later in Minecraft 2.0 Java Edition, technically speaking. Actually added in 1.6.1 13W16A. Oh. Try Striders? Striders should hopefully be fairly light. There isn't... I stand corrected, there's like 500 lines in here because it includes their AI. Oh boy. Are you also a... You are an eye rideable. Okay, good. So there's boost, mounted speed, travel towards. Okay. Again, identical code there to the pigs. Okay, controlling passenger is fine. Can be steered is basically identical to the pigs again. I do feel like this is going to be mounted Y offset is going to be significant because our wargs are quite tall. They're technically about the same size as horses, except but you're probably going to be riding you're probably going to be sitting a bit higher on them because horses are like that shape, whereas wargs are more like that shape. There's less of a dip in the middle. What is that? Writing entity, instance of Strider entity. I think that's just checking for a stack of Striders. Not sure what that's doing. There doesn't seem to be anything here. Is horse saddled again? That's interesting that it keeps... They've probably just cloned that code directly in. over and over and over. Oh, I didn't know you could feed striders. Neat. Okay. Well, we can get up on them. That's a start. The strange part is that we can't seem to control them no matter what we do. What's the pig entity? Go for that. Because that's like the only difference we have. 225, there you go. That's like the only distinction that we actually have here. So maybe that is somehow messing with it. I don't see how, but maybe. 0.25D. We are 0.3. We move faster than them. Maybe it's something to do with why the warg won't move when mounted. I mean, that's my guess here, but... Next stop, of course, is to just check out, yeah, really doesn't want us moving. Really doesn't want us moving. Interesting. Okay. There was something in the pigs about rotation. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, horizontal facing. What is this? And where is it used? A different function that has no meaningful basis in naming. If they're in a portal, yeah, I'm not really sure what this is doing. It doesn't have any deobfuscation to it. Okay. Abstract horse. Proper stubbornness value max will not move at all. Okay. Eye jumping mount. Hello. There's a different eye right. This doesn't even extend to eye rideable. Interesting. So the horses don't even use that. They use equipable, but they don't actually use eye rideable at all. Interesting. I bet you it's... Oh, I think I figured this out. Okay, so... pigs and striders have something in common, which is that they'll only go the direction that you're looking when you're holding a specific item, a carrot or a mushroom on a stick. They'll also do that when you're not actually like holding W or anything. So I betcha that what happens is the AI of the striders and the pigs checks for whether you're holding one of those items and then moves in your forward direction. And that will be borne out by their AI. Probably the tempt part, if I had to guess. Alright, no, we got this one. Panic. Never mind. Panic and tempt. I bet you it's related to those. So when you've got that, then it just moves in that way. Right. So actually horses were the thing that we should have been looking at in the first place because they actually do the thing. Right. Okay. So let's have a look through horses. Horses actually respond to you telling them where to go. Although it is convenient at times to just have something go in the direction that you want without needing your input. Okay, full damage, inventory, which is a thing that we will be adding to wargs eventually. Sounds. There's the attributes all the way down here for some reason. Eating. There's mounting. Okay. There's gotta be something in here for... Can passengers steer? Okay. jump. Okay, let's just reassign the rearing. Head lean, rowing him out. Open the mouth, because they're animated. Taming. Okay, so if being ridden and can be steered and is saddled, get the controlling passenger. There's setting all of the rotation points. And then there's the movement. Okay, it's affected in travel. Gotcha. We found the part that does the thing, everybody. Alright, so let me just drag this over onto my over monitor. One of these days I'll have free, but it is not this day. Okay. So we're just going to tell it to do its usual thing, unless everything else goes here. So if we're alive, we're being ridden, and we can be steered. I should stop saying we in that context, because that could be taken out of, well, context. You have a morbid curious about how boats are controlled now. Terrible feeling it's wildly different due to not being a living entity. You would be marginally correct. Boats are... they're just entities, I think. Yeah, they don't even go into the living code at all. But... travel should be down here. Somewhere. Let's see, where are we? So let's see, there's the forwards. Yep. Control boat. Yeah, left input down, delta rotation, forward inputs. Yeah. It's just this, basically. This is functionally the same thing as what our wargs are doing here. It'd be interesting if we had to drive them like a car, like a boat. Like you push forward and the warg goes in the direction that they're looking at currently. Interesting. But an utter nightmare to steer. I do like boats. I do think boats have gotten better in more recent versions. But, there are limits. Admittedly, my favorite part of boats in the most recent versions is that I have a macro that just holds down W, which is very handy for World of Madness because we have a really big ocean kind of environment. Okay, so can be steered. Let's just put that back right there. But yeah, it basically just means that I can hop in a boat, point in the vague direction of where I want to be, hit my macro, it just holds down W, and I can just, like, be watching a movie or, like, typing code or something in another window. It's lovely. I love it. Okay, so let's match our yaw. Wargs are a bit more complex than horses, but let's get to the point of actually having them be like horses first. Okay. So many things, you'd think they'd have streamlined this a little, but no. Okay, so that just handles rotation. Now we get to the fun parts. Moving. Where does that get applied? Hey Alice, how you doing? So we got this, this is the one we're really interested in, move forwards. Where is that used? So if jump power is greater than 0 and it's on the ground and the horse isn't jumping, so that just handles the jump part. Otherwise, down here is what we actually want. Okay, just travel. Okay, right. His arm's been cut off. Oh no! What a perfect companion for coding cubic mobs. A literal cube. Okay. I don't know why it checks if can passengers steer. Is that not... There's can be steered, and there is can passengers steer. I don't know why they have two separate things for that. I also don't know why they check that, like, way down. That's very strange. Okay, can I get this done before my first break? Wouldn't that be entertaining? Let's see. The value of F was strafing. Yes. So strafe. And then forwards. Okay. So that doesn't include jumping just yet, but gets us pretty close to movement at the very least. Is step height in here at all? I know that got more recent supports. Let's find out. If I had to guess, it'd be in the attributes. That's a sentence. That's a hell of a variable name right there. Okay. You just like you spectate a horse and you see like a HUD and up to the top right is just a flashing line of text that says "mommy targeting." Hmm. Okay. Anyways, completely overlooking that for the time being. Let's find their attributes in here. Horses have fairly complex attributes. I don't think I'll be making a creature that is quite as complex as that, but let's find out if we can see where their step height is controlled. Set offspring attributes. Okay, there's a start. Okay, so that's where everything else gets hooked in. I presume that they're... Let's see, horse jump strength, max health, movement speed from mob entity. Let's just check the attributes list actually. See if step height is in here. Nope. Okay. Maybe they just step up normally now? Who knows? We have just enough time before my break to actually check the code. Let's see if it does anything. So now we should actually be able to drive our warg. Let's find out. Hey, hey! But we can't go up the block. Okay. We also can't make it jump currently. Okay, we can go up that. This is definitely not the final form. But we are getting there. That is meaningful progress that we are able to use this. We are able to drive this at all. Okay. So we need to figure out why... We need to figure out how horses are told to step up a block, because they do that a lot, and it's kind of an important thing in Minecraft, because relatively little terrain is half steps. So let's bring open Abstract Horse again. Aha! Right there! So incredibly barely extant that we completely overlooked it. We just set the step height there. In fact, for purposes of comedy, I'm just going to set this to be 6. And we're going to see if our warg will step onto the nearby building. Okay, if you're wondering why we're not like actually just switching to a screen that shows the entire game source, it's because there is a bug with XSplit right now. It basically means that when I use the game source part of XSplit, Minecraft doesn't run. Minecraft isn't flat outside testing worlds. I know, right? It's so weird. Okay, here we go. Yep. Mountain goats got nothing on this. Step height so high, they take damage afterwards. I had to tinker a lot with this with the Gasling's Wonder code, by the by. So it sort of combines follow owner and wonder. There you go. Dog on a roof. What will they do next? Okay. We'll next set this to something a bit more reasonable. And I'll be back after my break. So I'll catch you all in about 10 minutes. Go get yourselves a snack. welcome back, everybody. So, just before we left off, we managed to get our wargs to correctly respond to us telling them to go places, and also managed to realize that the only thing determining how high up a world that a mob can go is literally this internal variable inside of their initializer. Oi. Here to apologize for your bad burger posts that are incomplete and or vague. You're not a problem. Like, the problem I've had with bugger posts lately is that Minecraft itself doesn't tell me where the problem is. And nobody else seems to have an idea. It doesn't get logged, it's just an error when I try to log into a multiplayer server and then things go weird. So, bleh. But yeah, turns out if you just set that internal value, is that from living entity or is that from entity itself? That is just straight up from entity. So literally an item stack on the ground has a step height, which is a little odd, but okay. Then it just, you can set that arbitrarily high. You could literally have a mob that is able to step over the entire planet. And come to think of it, that's probably going to be useful when I re-implement giants. Just an interesting thought there. What is the default value of that? Is that just 0? I presume it's just 0. I don't see it being set anywhere. Yeah, step height greater than 0. Then it tries to actually step over stuff. Interesting. Interesting. You're gonna do the Karen thing and just start saying your full username? Speak of the devil. Yeah. Bold of you to presume that Dave is a devil of any kind. Okay, so wargs are now properly set down to 1 for their step height, which means that they will be able to traverse the majority of Minecraft terrain quite happily. We are gonna want to have jumping in, but just to get started, I want to actually detect if our rider is trying to move them, and if so, to move them, otherwise just leave it up to whatever the AI likes. Now, I presume, on the sheer basis that sitting on this warg is enough to make it continue to wander around, that we're probably going to want to be doing a little bit more than this, but let's just start, shall we? So if, let's see, entity dot move forward is greater than 0f, or entity dot move strafing is greater than 0f, then apply all of that. And let's just bring that down to there. Okay, just a bit tidier, teensy bit. They are mischievous. I mean, there's a reason they're considered like a fae. That said, a lot of the LGBTQA+ kind of community can be described as fae. Me especially, because I'm also autistic, so I'm related to the changeling child myth, which was terrible, but still. We do be having fanciful fashion styles and brightly coloured, many things, really. Plus weird piercings. Just generally speaking, LGBTQA+ are very fae. Okay, so now we have this, so it should mean that it moves when we tell it to move. But I don't think it currently lets us check. I don't think doing that is going to make it so that our warg wanders around. We know that our warg has a wandering thing because abstract goblin wolf, which is the shared root class for wargs and wargs, does have a random walking goal. Let's have a look in here. If this takes... Okay, there we are. That's it. So if it's being ridden, it doesn't wander. That's not really what we want. So to fix that up, we're going to have to go and create our own extension of the water void random walking goal. Ooh, mouthful there. Override should execute and do basically everything but that. Not quite sure where to shove this, so for right now I'm going to shove it in mount. Llamas? Dude, I guess we could check the llama code, couldn't we? Yep, nope, that's llama data. That's something entirely different. Okay, is there a variable in here that checks. Get passengers is empty. It's literally just in there. We could make it very more complex and have the is being ridden feature ask if our rider is currently trying to steer, but that will have all sorts of knock-on effects that we really don't want to do. What about putting bad and naughty devs in the dev wiggler to atone for their sins? Oh, night Alice. Thanks for stopping by. Okay, update passenger. It's not really relevant for us here. Can be steered. Just false. Just entire function description here, false. That's entertaining. Is movement blocked? Dead and sleeping entities cannot move. Ominous, but correct! Also, there's a function called this.getShouldBeDead. What you know, it's me in the 16th century. But okay, it doesn't look like there's any specific function here. It's just that it's just that llamas cannot be steered anyways. Okay, so we do need to create our own. We do need to create our own little thing here. Did I not create a... I could have sworn I just created a thing here, apparently not. Nope. Back. Thank you very much. Misclicks galore. Okay, so entity, AI, warg wander, I guess. Wander over warger. What's the one that we give in here? It is just the top one. One day you'll make a Minecraft character that isn't Fae. One day. I mean, it seems to be a recurring thing that, like, ever since Yokai Temple, basically nobody in my fandom has, like, ascribed themselves as being entirely human. Okay, let me grab this. I saw a post recently regarding the late Terry Pratchett and how he had his monitors laid out, because he had 6. Bearing in mind that he has had 6 since, like, the early days of multi-monitor computers. So, like, literally he originally had CRTs. The things that if you picked them up you could break a foot by dropping them erroneously. That kind of thing. Like, utterly ridiculous. Okay, so if not this dot must update, good, thankfully I can check that. Oh, there's a weird named field here. Field underscore 234053 underscore H underscore. What the hell does that mean? It's a boolean that is set in the initializer. Something to do with idle time? It seems to interact with idle time. I don't know what this means, because it doesn't want to tell me. So we just got to create a clone of it, I guess. So, private final... something or other. It's set to true when this particular version is used, so presumably it's active, but it's just a check of whether the idle time is greater than or equal to 100, then it stops. It's very odd indeed. But okay, idle wonder, I guess. Just call it that. Helps if I tell it what it is, a boolean. Irrelevant for our purposes, but we'll rip out code we don't need when we actually know we don't need it. Ticks would be equal to 5 seconds, depending on your TPS. If anyone can figure out what that particular behavior is, do let me know. Did your human skin previously belong to somebody else? Technically speaking, it's been recycled for a very large number of people over the years. That's how matter works. Okay. That all looks fine. What's your problem? Ah, because we just got that part. Because that is not the whole story here. That is. Mr. Curly Whitehead. Many things have teeth and hair and skin, most of them not human. You're not wrong. We are assembled of many things. Some of those things quite disturbing when you think about them. Okay, so even if they're being ridden, our wargs, and our wargs technically speaking as well, should be able to wander about. And before anyone asks why you haven't changed your name back from Akunda the Wraith after swearing you'd only do it when first streamed again, it's for entirely human reasons. I mean, this is the problem there, Wraith. You made a bit of a Fae bargain before realizing that the Fae that you made the bargain with could just never stream again. You could just quit WoW entirely. There was nothing in the terms of that particular contract to say otherwise. You made your contract. Why do you think that Fae are known for being extremely, like, specific with how their contracts are held? Okay, so if we tell, okay, there's a little problem here, which is it only seems to be we have left control and we have forwards control, which is based on polarity of the actual move and strafe values. But if we just take our hands off, then they happily just sort of go where they like until we tell them to actually go somewhere specifically. Okay. So move forward and move strafe aren't magnitudes, they are actually directional values. So if we just get the absolute, then we'll get whether or not they are meaningful numbers rather than just 0. And that'll give us full control of them. Then we can add jumping. I think to try and find that resource, that weird packet buffer bug, I'm gonna have to start ripping code out until it starts working again, basically, and then I will hopefully have found the problem, but it'll take basically a day. Okay, now we should be able to say to the right, to the left, crisscross, slide to the right, slide to the left. 1 foot less tall. Okay. Warg vehicle moved wrongly? Interesting that you have that. Seems fine to me. Okay. I might increase the step height a little smidge. I don't want them to be too much more powerful than horses than they already are. Horses aren't dreadfully useful, honestly. Okay, that's used by pigs, striders, wargs only. Interesting. On a stick item. It's just its own class of item. Wow. So now we can implement jumping. Cha-cha real smooth, yeah. Multi-warg drifting. God, that took a while to get through my stammer. Oh boy. I don't know if stammers are genetic, 100%. I might have just learned it from my dad. Okay. Is there any mob that isn't a horse that uses our jumping mat? Out of curiosity. Nope, it is literally just horses. Okay. Doesn't have any defaults, interestingly enough. I think the 112 implementations of wargs don't require a saddle to be ridden, but we'll probably do that later. The implication of handle stop jump is that you could theoretically have a mob that starts doing something until you stop holding the jump button. For instance, a rocket propelled pig of some kind. Just putting that out there. Okay, so there's like jump sounds and stuff in here that we're not dreadfully interested in. Okay, set jump power. There we are. That's a bit more useful. Trail mix mod? Yeah, pretty much. Remember that? Oof. Sure, that's interesting. Oh, because that's an int. That's why. Okay. Now where is jumping started? There you are. It's part of travel. Okay. So previously we just put in horizontal, for the most part, motion here. We are now trying to access verticality, so that our wargs are able to leap fences and such, which... very dangerous, they do eat a lot of stuff. So let me see where I slide this in. Okay, so... oh, this gets complicated. Not the pets. Mostly livestock. In fairness. Livestock are pets? I guess. Love your Minecraft sheeps very much, friend. You can be quite friendly, I guess. Okay, so we want jump, plus get active potion, effects, jump. There's a lot of typing here, suffice to say. This is a convoluted thing. Warg Airbud. Warg Airbud wouldn't be much of a movie. It would just like enter the court in like a really cute like basketball outfit and then literally consume the other team. Like that's active type it really. Abstract Goblin Wolf is from Tameable Entity, which should be from the right things here. That is curious. Where's that drawn from normally? That's drawn from Living Entity. Oh, action. Pfft, I mistyped. There we go. Okay, so D1 is the part where we jump. So we want to say... I'm glad to see Vector 3D is being more used in there, is it? An effective strategy if nothing else. I mean, you're not wrong. There's no rule in basketball that says that you cannot hire a large wolf-like creature to eat the other team. But I think the law might have a word or two. Just as an idea. Let's see, F1 is the full part. Regular laws don't apply when basketball laws are in effect. Are you suggesting that the chalk line on the chalk line on the edge of a basketball court is like international territory? God. This particular code relates to essentially which direction you launch the warg off when you actually send it jumping. I wish you looked as cool when coding as I do. Really? I don't know about that. I don't know that I'd say that I look cool when I'm doing this. I will say I take a fair bit of pride in my appearance these days. That's about it. Does Kieran Dave code, Dusty? Really? That's my secret, Captain. I always look cool, I guess. Okay, there is another completely gibberish function here. Func underscore 233.629 underscore a underscore, which is part of living entity, is based on limb swing. I'm gonna presume that that's important. I have no means of knowing otherwise. Jump movement factor equals 0.02f. Interesting. Cool kitty cat ear headphones. I mean, yeah. They're even razor branded. They used to be accent wears. I loved the accent wear cat ear headphones. I have 2 pairs of them, but unfortunately they were a limited run and now they're hard to come by. And they get real expensive. Oh gods. So, razor, here we go, I guess. Chucking my lot in with the black and red gamer accessories, I guess. Oh, you program name 5 operations. Ah, okay, right. That should be all that we need to get it jumping, I think. Let's find out. Dusty, I think that you're gonna need to add a lot more hands to that. Razer isn't exactly an underground brand, unlike Accentware, much as I love them. You just have them way back, then you upgraded? Yeah. If there's a company that makes Fox ear headphones, then by all means let me know about them. Like, get me even more one brand, why not? There are no overhand chick emotes. There's tentacles. I know that much. Okay, we have a jump bar. Progress. So if we appear to be sliding. That's interesting. Gonna have to tweak that. But can we... Kind of. It's a little wonky, but we can cut... Oh no! All of the wargs have escaped. How did they do that? How have the wargs gotten out? That's interesting. Also, yes, this need to pretty much be constantly moving around your wargs so that they don't wander off is intentional. It's very specific thing. Okay, horses had a thing called sliding on ground, which I'm gonna take a wild guess is what's checking us for that. Allow stand sliding right there. When they got 6 step up, right? Yes, that's probably how they did it. We've uncovered the mystery of their jailbreak. Bad puppers. Okay. That's their jump boost, so we're looking a little higher up on that, I think. If they're on the ground, their jump power equals 0, and they're rearing then. Yeah, and not sense line and did that. Gotcha. Can't tell them bad you gave them that power. I mean, you're not wrong. But still. Okay, handle start jump. And setting the jump power. Right. Now those both set it to true. There must logically be a point where it gets set to false. And it appears to be part of when they're rearing. We don't really have a rearing for these guys. Also, horses have a function called is eating haystack. I feel like in our case that would just be is eating something. You just spent the entire 30 minutes of dinner time flicking tiny crumbs at your brother as payback for purposefully dumping his entire soda in your lap. I wouldn't feel sorry for that. I'd have gone further. I might have been throwing cutlery. Let's see, there's sprinting, which we'll probably come into later. Sprint over so you guys can see. But yeah, that line right there is the only time, as near as I can tell, that allow stand sliding is ever set to false. So presumably most of these functions that set it to true are done in the same, like, execution, and it just sets to false the next one. Not currently referenced anywhere, but it's probably relevant. What was that line? Inside of here that I had it. Yeah, right here. Right above the point where we check if they're jumping or not. If they're on the ground, the jump power is 0. They're rearing, or in our case, just generally, and allow stand sliding. Okay. Let's see how that does. It's very trial and error because the horse code, if you're new to my streams, the horse code for Minecraft is about as horrific as horse anatomy is itself. It's sort of partially implemented and then also copied from somebody else's modification, and it's like iterated upon over the years, and it is hideous stuff, frankly. So oof, I'm not really surprised that they don't even use any of the same code as pigs and striders. Honestly, I'm more surprised they don't use more code from like minecarts or something. Okay, we can... Okay, I think I see what the problem is here. It's that we only actually apply our things when we are telling them to move. So they're just only able to jump when we're actually holding down the directional keys. But also, they don't do anything else otherwise. Interesting. Okay, so it's related to our travel code. That's the problem here. So, yeah. There's the travel part right there. But if they're being ridden by us, then it gets overridden entirely. So let's add that in and see if that helps us. I think this line here might be doing us more ill than good, but we'll see. It's weird that horses actually have a value for allow stand sliding. I think it's to prevent them from moving around too much when they're in their rearing animation, but you can definitely make it happen anyways. Okay, we should be able to drive you around again. Or not. We have to be jumping. Because of, I'm pretty sure, that line of code. Okay. If it's on the ground and its jump power equals 0, yeah, so as long as the jump power is 0, we can't actually move it because it just nulls those values. So let's just get rid of that. And see how we do. So it only responds to driver commands if you are telling it to jump, telling it to strafe, or telling it to move forwards or backwards. Which is fine, because those are the only operations you care about anyways. And then otherwise, it just does its own thing. Okay, so, yep, can move, very good, can jump. It's a little wonky. Yeah, if I stop holding the directional keys, then it gets a bit weird. I'm glad you have 40 health, because I am not giving you a good time here. Guess we do need to factor in the fall state from horses. You can make these guys sit. Just saying. I was about to say, there are 2 wolves in there, but technically speaking, there's a lot of them. Okay, let me just go bring the other puppers back. Like horses, they will not jump normally, of their own accord. There we go. Okay, yeah, that is a rendering bug that, for whatever reason, is much worse when you're in F5. It's perfectly fine, normal though. Okay. Something interesting happened there. What happened there? That's from the Ghastling? Entity Ghastling Wonder. Okay. Null pointer. Well, I'm glad we ran into that now. Owner does not equal null. You're telling me it got a null pointer at a... Oh, I guess because Dest was null. There, that's gotta be it. That rarely happens because it has 50 tries, but glad we ran into that. Best time to run into that. Oh, actually, I can just make that else, can't I? Sibling warfare has a tendency to get interesting. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Also, hey guys. Hey, dude. Okay. So... if we're not controlling them actively, then their movement basically just stops dead in the middle of the air. Oop, wrong key. Let's ask if they're on the ground. That way you essentially lose control of them when you make them jump, which I'm kind of okay with. I think. You're playing Minecraft? What a coinkydink. I'm coding Minecraft right now. Let's see how that affects us. I'm probably going to want to throw some like splash potions of healing somewhere around in this pen just to... Nope. Apparently they just wandered out as well. Oh, no, the game crashed, so it didn't actually save. That's what happened. Okay, so it still stops. Actually stops even more now, if anything. Okay, okay, okay. Alright, well now it's gonna be a bit harder to get them back in there, so let's leave them be. So why do we stop mid-air when we stop doing this? So either we're controlling it, I guess, or it's not on the ground. What's this business with rats in 116 mods? Okay, for whatever reason there's a very popular mod called Rats. And it's mostly just animal breeding kind of mod for the most part. You can tool them up to do whatever. It's got a dimension called Ratlantis. It's got a decent volume of gameplay. But it is buggy as all hell. Literally, like, I am fairly certain that they imported some 112 code or something, because their rats move at ludicrous speeds. And then there is some of the upgrades are just ludicrously overpowered and cheap. So there's like an upgrade that can make a dragon rat, which will burn down basically anything when you slightly indicate that they should actually like go and attack something. And then there's the bomber rats, which will just straight crash a server when it tries to attack something. So it is really not grand. But it's popular. My rats in 1.16 and various oddities are based on the 1.12 rats that I had, which predate that mod's existence. But overall, I think the main reason for rats' abundance in mods is just people find them cute. That's the only explanation I got for you. Rats mod stares me dead in the eye whilst your soul leaves your body. Yeah. Okay, let's see. We've gotten our wargs to follow our lead when we're steering them, but also to just wander around when we're not doing that. They are currently trying to resolve some control issues related to jumping. That's Java? Yes, Minecraft is coded entirely in Java. This was not necessarily the smartest of choices, but it's what they're currently stuck in. Okay. Nope, we still... We still can make them move around if we're actively holding any of the directionals. Okay. Well, that's enough to at least let me get these guys back in the pen. So, come on. We definitely need to work on their falling. Their jump boost is maybe a little strong for something this beefy. Come on, you. I believe this particular one's texture is based on a Doberman. Okay. Everybody's back where they should be. So what is it about our code that makes them just stop dead? Am I being dense? Is that just a feature of does that happen with horses as well? Ooh, that's a thing I should check, isn't it? You want to warg to Summit Mountains? Oh, you'll be able to. Absolutely.
A new challenger approaches.
Simo, welcome. I don't know why I've just sort of internalized neural as like a statement. It's like something catches my attention. Neural. If you don't recognize neuron, it's from like a tiny little like spin-off parts of a tiny like spin-off part of the Haruhi Suzumiya franchise. Let's get those tails up, shall we? Fun little vocalization of yeah, I guess exactly. I guess that's pretty much what it is. Except in the like Haruhi Suzumiya thing, it's sort of, how do I put this, sorrowful resignation kind of a noise. That's the best way I can describe it. Okay, you hang out here for me. I don't have a way to make you sit just yet. Okay, we're going to need a horse with a saddle and presumably some apples. Oh wait, no. We just ride them until they say, sure, yes, okay. And unfortunately there's no, like, guarantee. There we go, thank you. Okay. So horse moves around pretty slowly in that direction. And they do the full jump. I don't particularly know if I want to give the wargs yeah, that's exactly it, Rafe. That is exactly it. I don't know if I want to be giving the wargs some kind of rearing animation, but I guess we can at least give them an internal flag that is the equivalent. Well, you call this an horse? Can't even leap the building. Alright. Okay, yeah, so let's, for at least the time being, let's implement a rearing value into wargs, and hopefully that'll even things out and make it work a bit better. But I'll catch you back in about 10 minutes, so see you after my break. Back, everybody, to the final hour of our evening, and we are currently just implementing code from horses to wargs to try and make them a bit more similar, so that when players are trying to ride a warg, it will behave largely as one would expect a horse to. Horses are kind of the baseline, I guess, in Minecraft for how a mount works, so we're trying to use those as our frame of reference, and I think I've gotten most of it in here. I have added the jumping value into this. I've added rearing for the most part so far. There's no animation to that on the warg's side. It's really more of an internal value that says whether or not you can do a thing. But here we go. I'm just gonna make warg rear. Thank you very much. If my typing is going, oh dear. Passenger steer, or it's a server world. And let's see, jump, rearing counter equals 1, and rearing. Okay. And that needs to get called, in the make mad part, handle start jump. Anywhere else? In the set jump power part as well. Let's see, ambient sounds. Yeah, we're not really interested in that. That's just decor, as it were. That would seem to be all of it. Okay, so previously our problem. Allow stand sliding is not used. Previous rearing and mount is not used. Let's see, where are you? Referenced there in the tick, which I think we've already gotten. Or not. Okay. Let's see. It's in the travel one as well. So jump power. Okay, hang on now. If we're on the ground and the jump power is 0, and we're rearing, and we don't allow stand sliding, then strafe equals forward plus 0f. Okay. Now it actually does a thing occasionally. For wise, it's just set to true in handle start jump and set jump power, which I think we've already gotten. Yep, and yep. Okay. Rearing seems to be handled everywhere. There is some nightmarish code in here, by the by. Like, here is the code for incrementing the jumping amount, so from going flat on quadrupedal stance to the bipedal, and that right there is the code for going back down. 0.8f times rearing amount times rearing amount times rearing amount minus rearing amount. Oi. There's gotta be a cleaner way of writing that. Heck if I know. Okay, previous rearing amount. I'm guessing that's mostly just used for rendering. I'm guessing. Let's see, that is set in the tick, whichever we got the code for. Yeah, it is used in a client-side only function for lerping between rearing amount and the previous rearing amount, as well as updating the passenger, because they move when they run. But since we don't actually have our wargs actually rearing right now, that's fine. So let's just leave that as unused for the hot minute. Okay, pretty much all of our code should be identical now. They should function perfectly as we desire. This is our design. In before they do something else. Because such is the way of things. So if I'm checking the forge diff for nope, no new ideas on what the multiplayer bug is. So yeah, I'm probably gonna have to spend some time, probably tomorrow, just ripping stuff out until we don't get that bug anymore. Which is fine. I'm on a horse. Hello. Unleash. Okay, we still only do that when we're moving. That's interesting. Interesting. Okay, how do we fix that is the next question. Here, Gasty friend. Come on. Hop on. I cannot control this warg very much. No? Okay. I presume you're trying to get on my shoulder. Come on. There you go. Okay. Truly, we are styling here. Warg does what he wants? Yeah. This is why wargs have a sit button. But okay. Does our guest friend... Looks like our guest friend does not come off our shoulder when we're on a mount. That's good to know. Sugar Cube wants to go fast? Yeah. Sugar Cube can go fast. Look at that tail. Look at the legs. The legs of mounts when you're moving around is always the most hilarious of things. And then I got the rear legs of the warg, which are one of the a very complex little piece of animation. Okay. I have to believe it's to do with this line here. If we got rid of that, that might honestly be all that we need, given how the AI task works now. Given that we've overridden the AI that's for wandering that stops running when you're in this, I can only presume then that getting rid of that will make this work better. I'm not sure. Let's find out. I've just noticed that there's a box of Pocky on my desk. I mentioned this because I've just spotted what the best before one it is. 31st of December, 2020. Tell you what, if we hit my medication donation goal sometime soon, I'll eat that on camera. Okay. Yep. It's 100% that line of code that makes them only respond to us when we're telling them to do something. Okay. And I'm guessing they won't try and wander because, as far as I know, they shouldn't right now. They're just listening to my code. That's the problem. Okay. Does chocolate really go off? I mean, it doesn't go moldy until a long while ago. Okay, I can summarize that a little bit. So, we can now make them function exactly like horses, but we don't want them to function exactly like horses. We want them to function like mildly unruly, heavily abused large dogs. Like, if a large dog wants to go somewhere, whether or not you're sitting on it in a saddle, it's going somewhere. So will a horse to some degree, but we're presuming that horses were better trained. So what do we do to essentially conditionally override this? We know the lateral movement works fine. So could we just check the is jumping part? I think we could. So if our lateral movement is greater than 0, or it's currently jumping, which gets set to... It gets set to false when they're on the ground again. That should mean that that still passes through as long as they're jumping. The jump part's the part we have a problem with right now. So hopefully that works. Hopefully. We'll see. At 1 Q, I give you a flashback. Oh god. It's like somebody described living through 2020, and then the immediate response to it on the post was, I give you a hamburger. God, I should look up that post. That was legendary. Good old Huel theory. Okay, can we jump? Only when we move. Probably because we're not jumping until then. Okay, let me... If you're not familiar, Huel theory is essentially a level of how far out of normal reality you are. There's a bit more to it than that, but there's this wonderful little light reading of it. So, example, you ask me for a hamburger. At 1 Huel, if you ask me for a hamburger and I give you a raccoon. At 2 Huels, if you ask me for a hamburger, but it turns out I don't really exist, where I was originally standing, a picture of a hamburger rests on the ground. 3 Huels, you awake as a hamburger. You start screaming only to have special sauce fly from your lips. The world is in sepia. And it's just like... So it goes so many levels deep. Like the actual wiki page I can find here just goes down to 6. Oh no, my mistake. 7. Suffice it to say, it's wild. Yes, I was literally quoting that. Okay, so now we should pass to that code if we are telling it to move, or we're telling it to jump, or it's currently in the position of jump.
Player has joined the game.
Hey, Bailey. Getting flashbacks to another stream you want? There was another stream that decided to talk about that? Oh, Salamat Pagi. Love Kill Fairy monologue. Yeah, it is a long thing, but it is wild to read. It's like when things don't make any more sense, the next response anyone has is, I give you a hamburger. Okay, can we jump? We can, but it's stunted. Unless we're, like, actively telling you to move. Okay, we're back to that problem. So doing that did not help us, unfortunately. But we need the... We essentially need... Where is the jump part here? If we're not jumping, then it does that, so I don't know why it stops. Probably because it skips over to that if this isn't met. Talking about brain-breaking stuff like the Fermi paradox and sleep shenanigans. Ah, of course. That makes sense. Brains are whack. Oh yeah. The brain is just a sponge that decided to think. See, in horses, we don't do this check, so horses are able to move as and how they like. How do they work? Well, your phone works because we put lightning into a piece of rock, so abstract from there, really. The trouble is, if we don't make it this conditional, then they don't wander. But if we do make it conditional, then we have problems in how we control it. So what if instead we had strafing forward as normal, and then we just set the values of strafing forward according to the entity if the driver is actually like, doing a thing. Okay. Okay, so in that case, we need to shove these up to here. We just have all of this code always execute like normal with the horses. We just set it to the standard values that are being given, generally speaking. So that would be this stop move strafing, I guess. And this stop move forward. Okay. Your electrified gelatinous mask goes burr. Yeah. Okay. So if we are telling it to do a thing, then our values get through. But it still runs all of the code related to what our values would do anyways. It's just that we don't update them, essentially. Hopefully, fingers crossed, because there's like half an hour of the stream left, this works. Yeah, the interesting thing is the evolution of neural networks, because the earliest it's very much like deeply embedded into the evolution of life in general, but the earliest sensor essentially was just a chemical inside of a cell that reacts to light. There's any number of those, but what that then meant was that a tiny sea-dwelling creature was able to detect if it was in the darkness or the light. If it was in the light, then it figured it was probably exposed, so it tried to find darkness. It moved around, essentially. Random, initially. Then it gets a few more of these, and it's now able to tell the direction of light. So it knows that its left side is not in darkness, so it will move to the right, that side of thing. That little one-cell chemical thing gradually evolves into what we call an eye. Very, very, very slowly, each step being mildly more useful than the last. But once you get to a more complex picture, you have to make more complex decisions. So my left side is in darkness, my right side is in light, I move towards the darkness. Okay, what if both of my sides are in the light? Which side do I move to? Do I just move forwards? Is that my decision? Or do I rotate? Do I try to move backwards? That kind of thing. Then you need to start actually having significantly greater input control. So you go from this thing that just essentially emits an electrical pulse, an actual impulse, whenever it gets hit by light, and you make a variant of that that takes an impulse and outputs another impulse. And you have that be modified by interior chemical values. Initially, they don't have to be very complicated. And eventually what you come up with is a neuron. And then by the wonderful, extremely long dev time that is evolution, you get neurons attached to neurons, attached to neurons, attached to neurons, attached to muscles, attached to sensors, all sorts of things. All in this neat little, very closely packed object, because it's extremely wasteful to have to send nervous signals, like, across the entire length of the body, for instance. So you want to have all your neurons in one place, ideally. And what we call that then is a brain. And occasionally it hallucinates vividly, and it doesn't really serve a purpose, but you know, it does that. But if it doesn't hallucinate vividly often enough, it dies. Fun fact, we're still not sure why humans need to sleep. No. Okay, so are you gonna... You are sliding all over the place. You really want to go that way, don't you? No? Okay, we've definitely got some problems here. But when we jump, they do the full jump. So that's something. Okay. I do think we can probably do with setting their head rotations at least, just as standard. If we don't, then scary things start happening like micro-sleeping. Yeah, because your brain has evolved to know that it needs sleep. We don't know why. In fact, what's really interesting is that your brain isn't one discrete object. Your brain is like 3 different discrete objects. There's the extremely low-level part, whose name escapes me, but it's basically the lizard brain, the reptile brain. It's the oldest part of the brain, right deep at the core. And then it's responsible for most of the autonomic systems. So it's the thing that keeps your lungs breathing when you're not thinking about them. It's the thing that keeps your blood pumping through your heart. It's the thing that handles most of your autonomic functions. Anything that you don't have to think about that your body just does, it's probably handled by the reptile brain. There's the monkey brain on top of that, which deals mostly with sort of contextual situation kind of information. So see bright light, close like eye, look away, that kind of thing, or see pattern, think must be like predator, that sort of thing. It's the monkey brain is the thing that makes babies like grasp anything that they're held, that they're handed basically, as well as a bunch of other things. And then you have the human brain, which is I think that's the bulk of the grey matter these days. And it's the part that's like kind of ballooned outwards. It's the part that makes it most recognizable as a human brain to us, and to most brains, in fact. Most brains look like brains because it's just how brains work, and they kind of evolve from the same place. But the human brain is a lot like this code here. It can conditionally take control of a lot of processes that are otherwise just handled by other parts of the brain, older parts, and in many cases smarter parts. But it's built for predominantly one purpose, and that is pattern recognition. The vast bulk of the human level, the conscious level, if you will, section of the brain is built for pattern recognition. And that is what takes us from apes and trees to existing on every continent of the planet. It's the thing that also makes us really prone to conspiracy theories. Because we evolved this big thing that tells us this, and this means a pattern. This, and this means a pattern. We never actually evolved an off switch for that. So our brain sees patterns where there aren't necessarily actually patterns. Because it's just a generator. It just says there's a pattern here, here's what it is, whether or not there actually is one. Because correlation does not imply causation. Our brain didn't evolve that distinction. Which I always find very entertaining. Anyways, rotation, yaw, I think, yeah, well, I think we just plonk those in. I think we just let those pass through as root. Now, I think it's probably worth us actually having a value for this. Car has a face syndrome. Yeah, we're like that's a huge chunk of the brain actually, is facial recognition. Which really both A, shows us extremely how powerful our brain is at it, and B, how incredibly bad it is at it. Because in visual effects for computer-generated imagery, that kind of thing, movies especially, something I have a not insignificant amount of experience with, the human face is notoriously difficult to make photoreal, for people to look at and not think that something's off. You have to be very detailed. The pores have to stretch, the musculature of the face needs to be in just the right way, the proportions need to be right, the motion needs to be right, the coloration, the reaction, the surface diffusion, everything. It needs to be so carefully tuned and finely created before your brain looks at it and does not even blink an eye at it being an actual human's face. Conversely, if you put two dots next to each other and a straight line underneath them, perpendicular to the line drawn between them, essentially going downwards, humans immediately say, "Ah, that's a face." We have this. Our brains are utterly bizarre sometimes. Never assume that your brain is doing things always the right way they should be. Never assume that your brain is having the right reaction, because your brain is a monstrosity of coding. Exactly, Dusty. That is exactly it. A dot, a line, and a dot. We immediately interpret that as a face. It's why emojis work. But if you actually try to make a human face, suddenly our standards skyrocket. Because we have this huge dip called the Uncanny Valley, where things aren't human enough. It's very weird. But also wonderful. I love it. You've said my name a lot this stream, not complaining. I mean, pay me, simp. So, simp, you've come to rescue me. Drops a whole ton of coins into hand. Say my name again. You said it, Dusty. Okay. Right, so. Current problem. The wargs do respond properly, they do jump properly, all that's fine, but they don't stop. And we need them to go through all of this code, or else we don't get what we're looking for here. We don't get the motion that we're looking for. How does the super run through here? Because there's this travel vector. Move relative. Okay. I guess at some point we need... maybe we just set these to zeros. Instead of actually setting them to being whatever. Nyar. Dusty. Thank you very much. Okay, if we just assume these values are zeros, let's see what happens. Do they just stop? Do they not wonder? A mild step towards my medication. Thank you very much. But yeah, human neurology is fascinating. And I guess much the similar way to like the Minecraft vanilla horse code. I don't like the way that I don't know if I call this like intelligence, or I guess the way that computation has evolved in biological organisms on the planet is a really fascinating thing to look into, because okay, you do stop. Good. Do you jump? You jump just fine. But I'm willing to bet that you don't wander, unless I'm not on you. Yeah, you just stop dead. Okay. Interesting. It's gonna need to be some very delicate calculations here. So we do need to have a value in strafe and forward, but it's not zero, and it's not what's already there. Could check travel vector maybe, but that wouldn't necessarily get the right thing. It probably should be dragged from the travel vector. But yeah, like an example of computation that we're experiencing currently is the ants in our kitchen. There's like a crack in the wall somewhere behind a cabinet that I keep trying to get in for. But ants are, on an individual level, idiots. Like, exceedingly dumb. They don't have much in the way of computation at all. But as a hive, if you will, they're very intelligent. They can do some really interesting stuff. They're capable of forming bridges, they're capable of hollowing out entire hive structures, of organizing things, of performing search patterns, all sorts of fascinating stuff. With extremely base level chemical orchestrated reactions. The most basic of them is that when they find something, they start to emit a pheromone trail, essentially. And whilst they're looking around for something, they also leave a trail. It's just not a very useful trail. But when they're carrying something that's like they think the hive will want, they start to emit another trail, and that trail overlaps the existing one. So they just follow their own trail back. All the time, they're highlighting this path as being leading to something useful. And any ant that encounters this path from any direction, really, reads, "This is an important road. I should follow this road." So it just starts following that trail in like the direction of strength. And when they find the useful thing at the other end of it, they start laying down more of that pheromone as well. So it goes backwards and forwards, reinforcing and refining this trail. And all powered on the concept of the reaction that is, good thing, make pheromone. It's fascinating. I love ants on a conceptual level. I would prefer they weren't in my kitchen, but it's a really fascinating example of computation. And then there's octopi, like cephalopods, big brainers as they are. They're really cool as well because they're. I discussed how the eye evolved earlier. The eye has evolved independently in several organisms over the course of like evolution on Earth, not just human evolution. And cephalopods have eyes that are better than ours. They have eyes that don't have the same structure or flaws that ours do. They're different in different ways, but they lack the flaws that are sort of deeply ingrained to ours to the point where we can't really ever evolve them away. So it's really fascinating there. And then, of course, you have the mantis shrimp, or the rainbow shrimp, whichever one, I forget which. It might be the rainbow mantis shrimp, come to think of it, whose eyes can see a whole other level of the, like, visual spectrum than ours can. Which we already know there's lots of creatures that can do that. Most birds and various insects and such can see a whole bunch of colors that we just don't pick up on at all. But the mantis shrimp can see, like, basically into infrared. Which is bizarre, because I don't know why you'd need to do that in the sea. But it can. And you have, like, other sensory systems that we have not even the slightest concept of, like sharks that can detect electrical impulses in other creatures. It's not their strongest sense by any sense of the imagination, but if there is an object, if there's a creature, like, hiding, like, concealed near to it, it knows it's there. It's like having tremor sense in Dungeons & Dragons. It's wonderful. Some genders are only viewable by the mantis shrimp. Oh, yeah. Okay. I think we've identified the problem here. So, determine values to base motion on in lieu of direct rider control. Those two values we need to implement according to what our values are here. There needs to be something here. I just don't know what it is just yet. You want to keep freshwater shrimp? That's so fascinating. Is it the pistol shrimp? Is because there's the mantis shrimp and there is the pistol shrimp, and both of them are like 1-2 deaf. Because the mantis shrimp will pick a fight with basically everything, and it will punch right through an aquarium wall. But then there's the pistol shrimp, which punches so hard that it creates a cavitation bubble in the water that is the temperature of the surface of the sun. It literally cooks whatever it punches with the sheer speed at which it punches. It is the One Punch Man of the sea. And then there's the... Is it the iron shrimp? The iron shell slug or something to that effect? There's something like that. But we are literally investigating that thing's shell because it is some of the strongest material ever discovered in nature, and it lives near volcanic vents in the sea. Just Oi! I always have to, like... I always have to marry my, like... utter awe at the things that nature has created, with the knowledge that it is the worst development cycle ever known. It just had a long time to do it. It's like, sure, nature has done these magnificent, wonderful, awesome things, but also it's taken most of the existence of the universe to do it. It's like, nature isn't superior, it's just had a lot of time to come up with stuff that we hadn't thought of yet. Like, that's it. Nature isn't a better creator than humans are, it's just had a lot of experience. And it is also the definition of self-taught. It's this wonderful kind of like anti-crunch culture. Oh yeah, to the extreme. Nature has no deadlines, except for the part where you're dead. So weird, sort of like... Does this count as a rant? Am I ranting right now? But yeah. Like, ants are wonderful. As an example, like going back to computation, ants are wonderful. They have this great capacity to go from exceedingly basic impulses to complex actions and behaviors and such. And then there's the death spiral. So, ants are following very basic, simplistic pheromone trails, right? Very straightforward. What happens if you make one of those trails in a circular shape? Especially if you do it with something that they want, so something that's releasing a good impulse. Well, one ant starts just going in a loop, and then another ant comes along, detects, hey, this trail leads to something good, I better follow it. That ant starts doing it, and then just gradually an entire death spiral begins to build that can take out an entire hive. Because they don't ever find the exit point, and they just walk until they die. You can look that up. Ant death spiral. Like, it's you don't see it very often, which is probably testament to how well ants have been evolved, because if they did this often, they wouldn't exist. But yeah, ants are fascinating creatures. Fascinating. They're base level AI, I would say. Like, extremely basic AI in action. In this wonderful settlement kind of fashion. I love it. It is very much my jam. I just wish they would stay out of my jam. Sliding scale of Bethesda to evolution. Oh. Info dump, ramble? Yeah, I guess I'm rambling a bit. But, okay. Oh, okay. So the next thing the wargs need, in addition to that, is a sitting option, so we can actually tell them to stay in one place rather than always wandering. The wargs need that as well, so we'll probably put that into abstract goblin wolf, which is their root class. And then we need the capacity to give them an inventory. So the wargs are going to want to have the option to give them actual, like, chests, not like a horse or a donkey. It'd be interesting if I made that sided. So there was, like, half of their inventory was available if you right-click, if you, like, accessed from one side of them, whereas the other side was accessible from the other. That would be interesting. So it's like when you have to actually, like, get something out of the war, you say, like, check the left pocket or the right pocket, that kind of thing. It'd be very interesting. I definitely, on the one hand, we could just use essentially the horse chest model for the wargs. It'd be fine, but it'd be interesting to make something a bit more complicated. So, like, if you pack them, like, full of stuff, then maybe the model changes a bit, that kind of thing. Or maybe you can just, like, pack a whole bunch of stuff on them, but it appears as more chests and whatnot. Anyways, that is a thing for another day. My next stream is on Thursday at 9 p.m. BST or GMT, I forget which one right now, with some Among Us, and then on Saturday we should have some carousel with some random games and some chatting with the patrons and such at the same time, and I'll be back for more of this on Tuesday. Meanwhile, I do make videos over youtube.com/comic. You might be seeing a bonus stream from me this week. I'm not 100% certain, I'll have to see. But otherwise, you can support this and everything else that I do in my capacity to ramble on an internet stream late at night over at patreon.com/lying. Hope you've all enjoyed. That's all I got. And I'll catch you all as ever next time. Ants.